In cozy mysteries, it's always the unlikely amateur sleuth, the baker, the B&B owner, the paranormal museum curator who takes down the bad guys. But in this small wine town, Lodi, California, a real-life amateur detective took down Joe Bonanno, the head of the United States mafia. If you love stories of average people taking down the bad guys, you won't believe what happened in this very real small wine town in Central California. I chose Lodi for the setting for my Perfectly Proper Paranormal Museum series, mainly because it makes fantastic wine, and it's also a lot more low stress than Napa and Sonoma, and a bit quirkier. Lou Peters owned a Cadillac dealership right here in Lodi, California. In June of 1977, a realtor approached him and told him that he had a buyer for his dealership. Well, Lou had absolutely no interest in selling his dealership, so he quoted an astronomical price for the time, $2 million. The realtor said he would let him know. Lou thought he would never see him again, but the realtor came back and said the investor was interested in buying. Now, there are 3 things you need to know about Lou Peters. First, he was an ex-Marine. Second, he's a car salesman, so he knows BS when he sees it, and he also has a gift for gab. And finally, he had always wanted to be an FBI agent, but he never applied because he had a misdemeanor in his background. When he was a teen, he ran out of gas one night and panicked. He tried to siphon gas from a stranger's car. He got caught and he was charged with a misdemeanor, so he figured he could never make the FBI. The realtor that he wasn't going to do any deals unless he knew who he was dealing with. The realtor didn't want to say, but he finally got it out of him. The buyer was Joe Bonanno, the king of the mafia in the United States. Lou told the realtor no deal unless he met the buyer. The realtor was reluctant, but he finally set it up. Lou went and he met with Bonanno's 2 sons, and he realized very quickly that the sons didn't just want to buy his dealership. They were looking to buy a good dozen dealerships in the area and use them for money laundering. Lou told them, "I'm your man. I can help you. I know this area. I can get it all set up." He left the meeting and went straight to the local sheriff's office, where he told the local sheriff, a friend of his, what had went down. The sheriff knew he was in over his head, so he immediately called the FBI. They agreed that Lou would become an informant if his wife agreed with it. His wife did agree. She was just as disgusted by the idea of the mafia being in her small town Lodi as Lou was. They both agreed, however, not to tell the kids. They wanted to keep the secret as tight as possible. Thus began a 2-year infiltration of the local mafia by this amateur. At one point, one of Joe's sons called Lou's house, and he ended up talking to Lou's daughter. She was 20 years old, beautiful, and had no idea what was going on. The son, enchanted, asked her out. She told her father, and Lou was livid. He didn't want them anywhere near his kids. So he and his wife agreed it's time to get a divorce. Not because they wanted a divorce, just to keep the kids safe. They were happily married for roughly 25 years at this point, and the kids could not understand what was going on, why their parents had broken up. It made absolutely no sense to them. But they did it. They got a divorce. Finally, after 2 years, Lou got Joe on tape to ask Lou to destroy evidence. That's obstruction of justice. Lou immediately ran the tape to the FBI, and they arrested Joe. But things were still pretty dicey because now Lou had to testify. Lou heard that Joe had hired a hitman to take him out. Again, he went to the FBI, and they set him up at a beautiful estate in La Jolla on the San Diego coast. Joe was convicted. Lou and his wife got remarried, and it would have been a happily ever after, except at this point, Lou had brain cancer. He only had a year to live. But he got to live out his childhood dream and work for the FBI. A lot of people think cozy mysteries are unrealistic because of the whole amateur detective angle. And yes, amateur detectives are certainly unusual, but occasionally you get them. Joe has this combination of being the right guy in the right place at the right time and with a passion for justice. And he took down the head of the U.S. Mafia. Want to read more about this beautiful wine country? Check out my Perfectly Proper Paranormal Museum series. Book 1 is the Perfectly Proper Paranormal Museum, and my newest book, A Deathly Display, comes out on February 17th, 26th. Link in the description below.